Dream has the same vibe of that one weird dude in a high school friend group that no one really vibes with because of their own personal reasons, like their personality or humor or way of talking, and it eventually evolves into that weird dude being the butt of every joke as a sort of camaraderie for that group. But instead of one high school friend group, Dream is the butt of the entire internet. Regardless of what you think of Dream, there's no denying that Dream and everything surrounding him is one of the most fascinating case studies on the internet, at least to a weirdo like me. There have been people who have done far worse things and have had a fraction of the consequences and backlash, so there's clearly something missing here. If you found this video through your homepage and you don't know who I am, I'm a video essay YouTuber that has been working on a video about analyzing the sociological aspects of the dynamic between Dream and the internet and how everything got so bad. And the reason you're seeing this video instead of that one isn't just because that video aged like milk. In fact, parts of my video probably aged even better. The same discourse on Twitter when Dream's video came out in 2023 where people just shat on Dream regardless of what actually happened is the exact kind of discourse that's happening now. Dream, no matter what, cannot escape being one of the biggest punching bags on the internet, endlessly scrutinized to oblivion, and that's just fascinating. But this time around, it's a lot more disturbing, because these people aren't just some random assholes on Twitter that just blindly believed in false grooming allegations just to hate on Dream. This is Tommy's community this time around perpetuating hatred and rumors. Even if every bad thing ever said about Dream was true, is enabling this type of behavior and environment with so much hatred really a good precedent to set for a community? The type of parasocial relationships that Tommy cultivated here are the exact same kind of unhealthy, obsessive parasocialism that people criticized Dream of back in 2021. Before I start, I just want to state that before this drama, I held both of these creators in a positive light. I rooted for Dream back in 2024 when he went back to making content, and for Tommy, I definitely put him on a pretty high pedestal even after I moved on from his content. And even now, he's still one of my biggest inspirations as a content creator. I also want to say that this video will try and be as impartial as possible and will not just dunk on Dream and glaze Tommy like a lot of people on the internet have done, because there's no heroes in this situation, and frankly, this has got to be by far one of the pettiest and immature internet situations that have blown up to this extent. And finally, I will assume that the animosity that Tommy has for Dream and vice versa is real, and that neither of them are manipulators or clout chasers, because I think the most important part of this otherwise annoyingly inconsequential beef is that it highlights a very ugly truth about content creators: the fact that they're just people. So let's get into the video now. Here's the timeline of events. I don't give a fuck about XQC and Miskiff, and these two videos from Tommy and Dream will be the main focus of this video. This whole drama started when Dream reposted this meme with the R slur in it in response to XQC tweeting about Tommy. Now the rhetoric around this word varies from person to person, and I'm not ready to get political, but ultimately, Dream was in the wrong, which he apologized for in the opening seconds of his video. Dream then disclosed in both his 3-hour live stream and video published the day after that Tommy and his friends have made distasteful jokes about him being a pedophile during his grooming allegations, and showed this screenshot where he expressed his disappointment. People on Twitter have taken this screenshot to further dunk on Dream and call him a manipulator, and I'm just sitting here thinking, have these people ever had a relationship with a human before? Imagine if in high school your nudes allegedly leaked onto the internet and your friend constantly made jokes about your nudes being leaked. What Tommy did was levels of magnitude worse than that hypothetical, and Dream should absolutely be upset at that, especially since Dream was at worst a colleague to Tommy and not some stranger on the internet. I understand that teenagers will always exude a level of apathy no matter how serious a situation is, but teenagers are still responsible for knowing what's right and what's wrong. Tommy's video opens up by denouncing Dream for using the R word, and while there's nothing wrong with this by itself, he conveniently omits why Dream didn't like him in the first place, and the entire video is just so holier than thou and condescending. Like, hey, using the R slur is unacceptable under all circumstances, but pedophile jokes, those are completely okay to say to someone that I personally know going through false grooming allegations. And for the final cherry on top, Tommy also insinuated on Twitter that Dream was a Trump supporter for some reason, so do with that what you will. Don't get me wrong, Dream's video is also kinda shitty in its own right, which I'll get to later, but Tommy's is so much more so. Tommy then went on to accuse Dream and his group of friends of being sexist and misogynistic, and this is probably one of the most fascinating parts of this whole drama. I'm not ruling out the possibility that this is true, but the evidence for substantiating this is so flimsy. Tommy brings up the Katie Bugs and George.Found allegations that were revealed to be at best blown way out of proportion and at worst a malicious fabrication. There's Ludwig and some other dude that have secondhand accounts of Dream calling people whores, and Dream's own admission that he jokingly called his friends whores with his own friends and only if they were okay with it. It's at least more solid than the Burner 22 allegations, but not by that much. Overall, these rumors and accusations are like the Salem witch trials with how vague they are and how much they've spread. Dream and Tommy then proceed to take personal digs at each other, like with Tommy saying that he cares more about his content than Dream, and it's not worth getting into. But Dream does bring up that Tommy used a merch company that used child labor and committed fraud, and accused Tommy of underpaying his editors. In response, a bunch of editors came forward with their own positive experiences with Tommy. Dream got caught cropping some screenshots of the supposed underpaid editors, and it's not like Tommy owned part of that shady merch company. So while these were responses to Tommy claiming that his art is superior, it honestly was just a shitty thing to do and was seemingly only done to make Tommy look worse. Tommy then said that Dream harassed his mother while she was going through a divorce, to which Dream responded by showing the DM that he sent her and explained that he sent that to her because she was arguing with Dream stans on Twitter over Tommy's skit on Dream. I don't think there's any malicious intent on either side, since Tommy and his mom were going through a very emotional time, and it's definitely a bit weird from Dream, but this message doesn't really seem like harassment, albeit rude and cringe. Also, another point that I've seen thrown around is Dream's tendencies to just write essays in DMs, which I actually can kind of relate to Dream in this way, since this is something that I've done a couple of times whenever I felt emotionally compelled towards something. So that's just something I found funny. And finally, Tommy brings up how Dream treated him like shit during the Dream SMP days and made him feel small, to which Dream responds how he treated him like an equal with DMs to show for it, and that the only reason why Tommy is coming out with these grievances now is for clout and promoting his content. While I do find it weird that Tommy also made content with Dream's sister and mom during that time where Dream treated him like shit, I think it's best to assume that something happened back then that's ultimately none of our business, and that the animosity that these two have towards each other is real. Although honestly, I don't really blame anyone that thinks otherwise. Unless something crazy comes out, I think that this is the end of this shit show. If you look around the internet, a lot of people are shitting on Dream and calling him manipulative as per usual, less but some people are shitting on Tommy, and most of the people are saying that this is high school level internet drama that never should have been public, which sounds about right. But I'm gonna drop a take that I haven't really heard anyone else say. If you really take a step back and look at this situation, this drama can ultimately be boiled down to two people that hate each other's guts, that talk shit to each other and made the other side look terrible while making themselves look as good as possible. And this doesn't make anyone a manipulator or clout chaser. In fact, I'd argue that this sort of thing is common for the human condition. It happened in my life, and most of you watching would be damned to say that hasn't happened in your life. It's just that in the case of Dream and Tommy, it looks really ugly in comparison to their internet personas. If there's one silver lining to draw from this situation, it's the fact that all these content creators are just people at the end of the day. However, if it were so easy to embrace that fact, I probably wouldn't be making this video. Ironically enough, on October 28, 2024, well before any of this happened, I literally wrote about how content creators are just people with the ugliness filtered behind a persona, and yet, it turned out I didn't even properly grasp the weight of my own words until recently. This situation has given me more mood swings than it ever should have warranted, and if you're sitting here thinking that I dedicated way too much time and effort towards this, you are absolutely correct. On one hand, this is simply the consequence of having parasocial relationships with relatively unstable content creators. But you know, I was also pretty bummed out when Technoblade passed away from cancer, and you wouldn't see anyone saying that the people crying to Technoblade were overreacting. I think I realized that the emotions I felt when Techno passed away are very similar to the emotions I feel now. That feeling of losing someone that you never really knew in the first place. I don't think that every content creator is secretly a bad person, but I definitely feel slightly more paranoid of content creators than I did before. If any of you watching have had experiences with parasocial relationships similar to mine, feel free to comment down below because honestly, I'm still pretty conflicted myself. As for Dream, people will always and probably forever look at him with blood-tinted lenses, and it's a phenomenon that I'll never be able to truly fathom. And I genuinely think, with only a little hyperbole, that Dream's words and actions are scrutinized just as much as the President of the United States. But I think my fascination has eaten me up a little bit too much at this point. Here are some of the spark notes of my Dream video, just as a little gift for those who have made it this far. If you think I was cooking or not, let me know in the comments and I might start working on it again, but I honestly just feel like moving on. I have a lot of interests outside of Minecraft that I want to make videos on, and I have at least a little bit of confidence that they'll do well, since my most successful video so far is something largely unrelated to Minecraft. While yes, Dream is absolutely one of the worst types of people to get famous on the internet, and he made a lot of asshole moves, I think it's just objectively wrong to say that Dream is the only one at fault for how bad his reputation became. Overall, I think Dream just needs to accept that he'll never win on the internet no matter how hard he tries. Although that is such an easy thing to say, frankly, I don't think I could accept that if I was in Dream's shoes, but the sooner he does, the better it will be for everyone. He should just uninstall Twitter, make a Blue Sky account, only make a YouTube community post announcing it, and make more manhunts, since the last few manhunts were pretty cool. As for Tommy, this one is a bit more complicated. Tommy has essentially been one of my biggest inspirations for the past 5 years and honestly still is, but I definitely don't have him on a pedestal like I used to. I don't think he's a bad person and seems to be a good person in the grand scheme of things, just not as good of a person that I had in my head, which is probably for the best to be honest. One thing that does worry me though, is the fact that the level of parasocialism that Tommy has cultivated is to the point where his fans will spread hate and be overly riled up over his own personal affairs, which sounds very familiar if I do say so myself. Perhaps this instance is just an exception because of Dream, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Tommy ended up in the same position Dream was in 2021. Hopefully that doesn't happen. For both old and new viewers, don't worry, this type of slop isn't going to be the standard for this channel. This was just a video I wanted to make to vent my feelings out. And if you think I'm cringe for making this video, then you should listen to my music playlist. Plus, I like Toho, watch VTubers, and read Bocchi the Rock fanfictions, so you're going to have to try really hard to actually shame me. Alright, goodbye. I have a new format that I want to try for my next video, so subscribe and like the video if you're looking forward to that.
And also, secretly, I hate all of you, because of your gender and your sex, and because I'm homophobic. I hate all of you, and I always have.